It's Absolutely Auburn, a place where we'll talk about all things Auburn, Maine, because we're in the middle of it all. The City of Auburn's communications team is dedicated to helping you connect with city government and learn everything you need to know about Auburn, our city, our people, our events, and our community. Welcome to Absolutely Auburn.
On this episode of Absolutely Auburn, we are talking with our Public Works Department. We will have Shawn and Noel joining us in the studio. We're talking about winter storm prep, Christmas decorations, and just kind of all things general public works. And folks, you definitely want to tune in because we learned there's science behind using salt on the roads. Welcome back to Absolutely Auburn. I'm your host, Jen Bonig, and joining me as always in the studio is our fabulous producer, Abby Bourne.
Hello, Jen.
Hey, Abby. And today we have some special guests with us. We have Shawn Marston, the operations manager, and Noel Skelton, the highway supervisor at Auburn Public Works. Welcome, guys.
Hi there. Hey.
I know this is a little out of your comfort zone, but we're going to get you there. It's going to be fine. And before we dive into those hard-hitting questions I'm going to ask you, I'm going to brag a minute about our Public Works Department because I don't know if you know, well, you two know, Shawn and Noel, but I don't know if everyone knows that Auburn Public Works is accredited by the American Public Works Association, making it the first and only nationally accredited public works agency in Maine. I didn't know that. I mean, until I met you guys.
Well, I remember it was a bragging point in my interview with the city because Scott Holland was in my interview.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And he was like, "Did you know?"
He wasn't in mine.
But no, I think it's a really cool, it's a thing to brag about for sure.
Absolutely. And being accredited means the department is following best management practices and continuously looking for ways to improve things like operational performance and communication. So speaking of operations, Shawn, as the operations manager, can you share more about what you do and what a typical workday looks like for you?
For the most part, I kind of look over. We usually have 5 supervisors for the public works when we're fully staffed and up and running. Currently, we have 4. But I kind of oversee what they're doing, kind of help point them in the direction I want them to go. They spend a lot of time talking to the residents, seeing what's out there for issues. And then we got to kind of sit back and look at, what jobs are going to get done, which ones are going to get done first, priority levels, that type of thing. So I spend a lot of time just kind of looking at that aspect of it, kind of sitting back, seeing what everyone has going on, and just kind of trying to decide what's going to get done next. We also deal with the school department with the maintenance of all the buildings there, especially the new high school. That's its own monster there.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous though.
It is.
So
it is
nice.
Gorgeous. I wish I had that. 30.
It's okay, Shawn. You don't have to out yourself to everyone. It's fine.
However long ago it was, but yeah, it's a beautiful building. But trying to get the public works and the school department both on the same page. The school side, the maintenance crew, it's a very small crew. There's only 5 of them there, and then we have the public works
for all the schools.
Yeah,
wow.
For all the schools. Then you also have the custodian side of it too, but for maintenance, there's only 5 of them for all the schools. So now being able to have that the public works there to be able to help them out as well, seeing what we're able to help them out with. So
well, and I would think it's a little bit like being a ringmaster when you have so many different projects going on. Mm-hmm. Kind of being able to keep track of like you said, who's doing what, who's going where, and then what are those priorities.
There's just a lot. Sometimes we have our arborist supervisor. He's always staring up. He's always looking at all the trees. You drive over 20, 30 potholes. That's all right. He's looking up, looking straight up. And then I got the other supervisors. They're looking straight down. They never look up. So that's right. Just trying to get everybody on the same page.
So who has their head in the clouds?
That would be Noel.
Oh, right.
Yeah, hey, that's me.
Yeah. So Shawn just said now you're looking up, not down. So what does your day look like as a highway supervisor and our city arborist as well?
So that varies greatly by season. A big part of what we do at Public Works, and I'm sure this is the same for every municipality, but it's very, very weather driven, very seasonal work. We do a very wide variety of tasks. And as far as the supervisors go, we kind of all have our own specialty, so to speak. Like we have a north end dirt crew, we have south end dirt crew, parks supervisor, and they deal with like most of the green spaces. And then there's me, city arborist and highway supervisor. So like I kind of fill in between all those things, but with city trees and urban forest kind of being my focus on things, which encompasses everything from speaking with residents and other departments, school department. That's definitely becoming a bigger thing. That's a newer development for us. And like Shawn was saying, we're still kind of working out some of the details of that and trying to assist them with everything that we can. So, in the spring, we're dealing with a lot of cleanup things, kind of wrapping up winter. And then through summertime, we're kind of in more of our, what we kind of call like our flow. Like that's just like our general duties. We're doing a lot of our construction work, a lot of our tree trimming for roadsides and parks and mowing and all that stuff. And then fall, we pretty much just kind of reverse what we did in spring and prep for winter the best we can. And that's always a little challenging because you never know what the weather's going to do. So we pretty much have to just try to adapt as things come. So we do anything from trying to deal with customer service and residents, answering questions and concerns. And if it's not something that we would deal with, we try to point them in the direction of who can or where they can find better answers. But we do a lot of things. We do everything from drainage and fixing potholes and curbs and sidewalks and you name it. We're pretty much involved with it if it's in the city.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've learned. Public Works is the go-to group.
Yeah, we're definitely kind of the worker bees or the backbone of the city infrastructure.
Yes.
Almost like you left out your favorite thing to do, though, Noel, that you do right around this time of year.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Christmas lights. Noel does. Noel spends a lot of time with Christmas lights, Christmas decorations.
I definitely do. I've been here for almost 9 years now, and I've been doing it the entire time I've been here. So when I first started, I was on the crew. So my primary involvement in it was actually wrapping lights on trees and putting up other decorations and installing the Christmas tree, which I'm sure probably a lot of you listening have seen. So it's kind of a big job. We usually find a tree from a donator in Auburn. I think maybe only once or twice have we ever taken a tree out of city limits, which is kind of nice to keep it all local. And so we remove the tree, and Cody Crane usually helps us out with that, which we appreciate very much. They've always done a great job, very, very helpful to work with. And then we install it down at our festival plaza. And then it usually takes about 2 days from the time we actually get the tree, set it up, get it all lit and prepped up.
Yeah, it's quite an operation. I saw that last year as Cody Crane was bringing it in and getting it set up. And you were there with at least a couple of other guys getting all of that set up and ready to go. Unfortunately, this year, we couldn't find a good tree. So for those of you listening out there, keep us in mind for next winter.
Yeah, definitely reach out if you guys, anyone has a tree you think might make a good city Christmas tree. Feel free to reach out to us. We'll be happy to come look at it for sure.
So as we talk about Christmas, that means winter is here, or, well, we got a taste of it, I guess, the week of Thanksgiving. It's not, I wouldn't say it's fully here yet.
It's certainly on the way.
It's coming. It's coming. So how many road miles is the Public Works crew responsible for maintaining? And how many people are doing that job?
We got roughly 500 lane miles of road to take care of in Auburn, which includes a lot of gravel roads. One thing before I started with Auburn, I didn't realize how many gravel roads Auburn still had. And then to take care of that, it's roughly 50 people. It's always...
Wow.
It's nice to have a few more. With 50 people, there's no extras. So if someone, for whatever reason, is out, whether it's COVID or, sick or something, if we're down a person, it really, really hurts. So Yeah, it's a lot of lane miles.
Can I ask a silly question? How early do they show, like on a storm day, how early would you show up to work to do a plow?
Great. Well, yeah, that's a great question.
I've always wanted, because, I'm waking up at 7 on my way to work.
You're already out there.
And the roads are plowed.
Yeah.
I think
that's a great question.
A lot of people don't realize how often we are out there. There's a lot of times that there's stuff happening overnight. A common one for us is a morning salt. You get just that little bit of ice, overnight. You wake up, everything's froze. People wake up not realizing we've already been out there probably since 3-4 in the morning. Salt it. So when they wake up and they're on their way into work, everything's already taken care of. We have a third shift crew all winter long, November 15th to April 15th roughly, that are here to take care of stuff. We have a second shift crew, and then you got the first shift crew. So,
you have 24-hour coverage.
We do, yeah.
Just over the winter?
Just over the winter.
Right. So
year round in the summer, we have a first shift and a second shift. It's just a 2-man crew on second shift, but just for those accidents or kind of spur of the moment, down trees or something like that.
Yeah. So a lot of times, like when we're prepping for a storm or we know there's going to be some kind of weather, those are actually like the ones that are a little easier to prepare for because like if you forecast says we're getting say 6 inches of snow starting early morning hours of say Saturday morning. Well, we all know. So like we'll be prepped, we'll be ready, trucks will be loaded, people will try to sleep, ahead of time knowing they're going to have to work. The ones that are a little more tricky are things like refreezes. So, or like those random freak storms that just kind of come in and it's only like, maybe an inch, but it's enough to make the road slick.
Yeah.
Those can be a little challenging because they're harder to see coming. So you just have to make the best educated guess you can with the information you have and the experience that you've gained over the years. So it's definitely not something you can just, snap your fingers and know.
Right.
So everybody be nice to the plow guys.
Yeah.
This is what
they've been working way before we ever woke up. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And how many trucks, if there's like, let's say a significant storm, like 6 inches or more, how many trucks would we typically have out on the roads?
So basically, if we have like an actual storm and like everyone, all hands on deck kind of situation, we'll have 19 plow trucks out. So that's a combination of single axle trucks and dual axle trucks. So our smaller trucks hold 7 yards of material and our larger trucks hold 10, I believe. Those trucks all are equipped with a plow and a wing, and they all have calibrated salt application. So that way we can just kind of keep track of everything. Everything should be similar. We've got one person in a loader the entire time. That way we can switch material if we need to, and they can top off trucks as necessary. Plus they plow the yard in their downtime, so they're always busy as well. We have 2 1-ton trucks, and they take care of like parking lots, some of the parks, some of the public parking lots, overflow parking for, winter. We have 4 sidewalk tractors out, and then we'll have 1 pickup typically if we have the extra people, and we'll kind of take care of some of the bus stops and downtown that usually requires like some hand shoveling and stuff like that. Try to keep a close eye on those things for people who aren't in vehicles. And then during any given storm, regardless of shift, so first, second, or third, we'll have at least 2 supervisors. And sometimes we will actually have an extra just to stay on dispatch if it's really busy and we're expecting some bad weather.
Yeah. So snow removal tips that you could share with residents and business owners. I'm sure y'all have some pet peeves, and I'm sure you can also I'm sure you can also tell if someone shovels or plows or snow blows just right into the street because they're like, oh, the plow guy's going to come by. He's going to take care of that for me. Is that really true?
It's true that they plow into the road, yes. Will we take care of it for them? Not intentionally.
Not on purpose.
Right. So,
don't plow into the road.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's actually there is a city ordinance against that, and it's actually against state law as well. We try to be as understanding with people as we can because we understand that sometimes people have driveways in places that are just not conducive to plowing anywhere else.
Right.
And we try to help them out as far as like saying, if you can put your snow like in this corner, it'd be better than putting it in the road. Plowing across the road also opens up a lot of potential for accidents and danger. We can take a treated road that, should be dry and safe, and then you smear a bunch of snow across it and suddenly you have a slick spot. And of course, drivers aren't always anticipating those kinds of things. It is winter in Maine, so obviously driving can be challenging. Yeah, so definitely can be a challenge. Sidewalks, that's a huge problem with that. A lot of people will snow blow, shovel, and plow into the sidewalks to avoid plowing into the roads. However, that's also a public way, and that should also not have any snow put there as well. So when that happens, usually the plow truck operators or sidewalk tractor operators will contact whoever their supervisor is on shift, and we'll go out and we'll try to talk to either the resident or the contractor who's doing it. And a lot of times they're simply not aware. So we try to work with them. We just try to discuss it with them and say, hey, look, try not to do this if you can. We'll meet in the middle as best we can.
So it is my responsibility as a homeowner, or I guess even if I'm a renter in an apartment building, or the business owner, to clean my sidewalk?
Not technically, no.
Okay.
Yeah, so we don't actually hold anyone, to be responsible for cleaning their section of sidewalk. But the best way to try to look at it is that it's all of our responsibilities. If we can all work together, then it's just going to make everything safer and more convenient for everybody. Pedestrians, there's a lot of kids in Auburn.
Right.
There's a lot of elderly, there's people who are disabled, and there's just people who like to walk. A lot of people walk their dogs. We have a lot of sidewalks in the city, and it's just in everyone's best interest to just try to help each other out as best as you can. That goes for us and residents and businesses included.
The sidewalk cleaners will come by at some point, but I'm sure like anything else, that's where those priorities come in with different
time,
right. And it's going to take time.
It takes time, especially with the sidewalk tractors. It's the sidewalk operators, they have a challenge. They go out there, something that seems so simple. You get a 2-inch storm, not much snow. They could go right along, take care of that. They could until the plow truck goes by and they put everything that was in the road out onto the sidewalk. And then they're just trying to figure out where the sidewalk is. Then those circumstances where if contractor or a resident does plow their snow up onto the sidewalk, a quick little plow or snow blow, all of a sudden now they've got a frozen hard bank in front of them that they've got to really slow down, take their time on, breaking shear pins. It's just harder on the tractor themselves. So that's right. It takes time to get through everything. And then once they're all opened up, they got to go back through, start sanding everything. So It's a very slow process. Yeah. They can only go as fast as they can. Limited manpower, limited equipment. I don't want to say limited equipment. We have some decent equipment, but you have breakdowns, stuff like that. You're running those machines 24 hours a day, trying to take care of stuff. You're bound to have breakdowns no matter how new it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Sidewalks, they offer a lot of unique challenges. To put it in perspective, our average plow truck run is about 20 miles or so per truck, and it's about the same for a sidewalk tractor. Trucks typically plow at right around 25 miles an hour. Sidewalk tractors go about 3.
I was going to say, probably crazy. 3 to 5.
Yeah, so it can be challenging because, of course, like Shawn was saying, the plows put the snow on the sidewalks, and then, sidewalk tractors, they can go through, open the entire run, and that's just kind of moving the initial snow. But then, if you have contractors, residents, or our trucks are going through trying to clean up and push back the roads a little bit so they're open to the curb, they tend to, by default, put a little more snow back in the sidewalks.
On the sidewalks, yeah.
So it's not, if a storm ends, say, Friday morning, and the trucks are done cleaning up by Friday afternoon, roads are all clean and salted and trucks are parked, we'll have, 4 or 5 guys in here on sidewalk machines working right up until about Sunday night, sometimes on bigger storms, just trying to open the sidewalks. So
I bet,
a lot of people are very appreciative, and some people are a little less patient. And, we just try to encourage people to be patient with us. We do have people out there, and, sometimes it seems like it's going to be a while till they get around, but they're out there doing the best they can. Our guys work very hard, and they work a lot of hours on minimal sleep, and they're just trying to do the best they can. And then, of course, if we have things like breakdowns, that can really set us back.
Right.
If we have 1 out of our 4 tractors go down, that's a pretty significant hit to our operation.
Yeah, I mean, especially just the timing. I think it's so interesting that it literally 3 miles per hour. I could run probably by that if I wanted to.
Definitely.
Not that I'm going to do that, but it's going to take time. And patience isn't always a virtue that I have either. So I can understand how people struggle with that. So speaking of all this cleanup, and we've kind of mentioned salting and sanding, and everyone knows salt can help clear the roads, but it's also harmful to our ecosystem. So keeping our roads and sidewalks and parking areas free of ice and snow is critical. And road salt contains chloride as its main ingredient, and that can negatively impact lakes and rivers. Auburn Public Works has a commitment to use less salt, which helps everyone, especially environmentally and financially, because let's face it, we got to buy that stuff. It's not free. Shawn, can you talk about some of the best management practices that your team uses to reduce the salt usage and that environmental impact?
Yeah, absolutely. All of our trucks, I think Noel had touched on it earlier, all of our trucks have a Cirrus ground speed control system on them. So when they're out plowing and putting down salt, they have a little computer where they'll put in how much they want to put out. The faster they go, the truck will speed up. When they come to a stop, it'll come to a stop. So it's always putting out the same amount or how much you're asking for. With putting out salt, it's some people don't realize it, but there is a science behind it. You don't just, oh, look, it's snowing or freezing rain, we're just going to throw out some salt. There is that science behind it. Certain temps, when it's warmer out, you put out less salt. When it gets colder, you're having to put out more salt. For instance, in our winter operations, it's kind of spelt out between 25 and 32 degrees. We put out 250 pounds of salt per lane mile. When it's colder, 15 to 20, they're putting out 450 pounds per lane mile, almost double. When it gets below 15 degrees, you don't put out any salt.
We should all just stay home.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I'm right on board with that one. Not an issue. I think below 30 we should stay home.
And just to kind of put it in perspective for the listeners, so he was just saying like 450 pounds per lane mile. So for perspective, 50 pounds of salt is about a 5-gallon bucket worth of our salt. So if you really think about it, that kind of gives you a volume amount of what that would look like.
So there is that science behind it. We're always looking at the temperatures, not just the air temp, but the road temp. Our biggest concern is what the road temp is. It could be 40 degrees, beautiful out, but middle of winter time, the road temp could be 12, 15 degrees. So we're looking at all that, and that's how we go by how much salt we're putting out. We want to put out what we need to put out, but the least of it for environmental impacts, cost impacts. So there is that, there's that science behind it.
Right. So see, there is science, people. It's not just, we don't feel like doing it today. Nah, we're not going to do it. Like there's rhyme and reason. And I get it because everyone likes to be that, armchair quarterback. Like, why aren't they out there doing this now? Well, there's a reason for that.
Yeah. And one of the main reasons for the salt is just to keep the snowpack from bonding to the pavement. Mm-hmm. A lot of times people feel like when it's snowing out, the road should be black, wet, beautiful. They can go full speed ahead. And that's not what it's for. When it's snowing out hard. You can throw all the salt you want. And that's not what it's there for. And you only have so much salt, so much budget. You can't just keep throwing it out. You got to go by that science, go by what it's calling for.
Right. And slow down. I get it. I'm a speed demon. I'll be the first to admit. You do have to slow down.
Yeah, it definitely helps. And salt is a very misunderstood tool. Kind of another part to Shawn's point is like the way that we apply the salt. The supervisors will typically be on the road for a while, sometimes up to a couple hours before we call in guys like on weekends or overnights or whatever. And because like he was saying with the ground temps, that's the biggest thing. Air temps is of much lesser importance. So what we'll do is we'll drive around and we'll try to get a good idea of what the road temps are because it can vary widely. I mean, Auburn geographically is a pretty big area.
Yes.
And we've got everything from in-town city. We've got roads like Riverside Drive next to a river. Got Lakeshore Drive next to Lake Auburn, and then we've got some hills, some elevation to deal with. So everything from like tree cover to ledge under the road to being near water can all affect the road temps And a lot of times we'll split up. We'll have one supervisor kind of take the north end, one of us will take south end, and we'll be on the phone and the radio discussing what we're seeing for temps, and we'll kind of come with a plan. So we usually tell our operators what we would like them to put salt application rates at, based on the temperature, the road conditions, the forecast. All of those things kind of come into play. And we do encourage our operators to take a little bit of ownership of their run. You know, if they go out there and they see that, you know, from the time that we were out there to the time that they now go out, because their trucks are also equipped with road temp sensors. If the temps have dropped, then they know they need to bump their salt rate up just a little bit. You know, they'll just go up like 50 pounds usually,
right,
just to kind of help them out a little bit. The most effective tool we have is definitely the plows. That's the most effective and the cheapest way to fight storms, actually. So the salt is really just kind of a tool to assist with that.
Right. Well, that's like you know, you hear it, I'm sure. People probably yell things at you as you drive by also.
No, that never happened.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, I've never experienced that.
No. Speaking of sand, another tool, we have a sand bucket for seniors program. And so Public Works will deliver a free bucket full of sand for seniors living here in Auburn, which is nice because, well, gosh, those buckets are heavy.
Yeah.
I mean, and to struggle with that. And the sand is helpful to give you a little bit of traction, especially if you're not as sure-footed on your feet, or even if you are. It's still very helpful when it's icy out there. So can you tell us a little bit more about that program?
Yeah, that's something we've been doing for, I don't know, I want to say probably 4 or 5 years now. It seems to grow every year. But yeah, we go around delivering buckets that are full of sand for seniors. We can put them right up on your porch and, you know, put them right beside your garage, most anywhere as you want it. It's just a helpful way that something small that we can do to really help out. We've been calling for the last 2 or 3 weeks, I want to say. We've been calling numbers that we had from previous years, just checking in, see if they're still interested, see if they want it, get an idea where they want us to put it. We actually just started this morning sending some crews out to start dropping those off. We always try to get out there sooner, but trying to take care of leaves and Christmas lights, and it's just that idea of there's always too much to do. But we just got started on it this morning. And you're still able to get signed up for it if you haven't been contacted. You could call the Public Works Garage at 333-6670 and just tell them you're senior looking for some sand. Okay.
And now if someone's like, I'm all set right now, but change their mind like in January, can they still call in January? Do we not encourage that?
Yeah, no, they can definitely call. It's not something that we can prioritize for sure at that time of the year. You know, this is really something we try to get to preseason. You know, we're kind of right in that transitional stage right now. And right now is when we really prefer to try to do that. If someone's in a really bad way, we will try to make an effort to help them. Like right now, we have approximately 350 sand buckets we deliver.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's quite a bit.
Okay.
You know, the guys that do it, they definitely enjoy it. It's a good public outreach for us. It's a good way to kind of say hello and shake hands and talk to people a little bit. And some of these people, you know, they don't necessarily have a huge crowd to be talking to all the time. So it's kind of nice for them to just see people from the city. And, you know, it's always just someone driving by. And now you get to say hi and see your local plow driver.
Right. And then hopefully they wave and they're nice when you drive by, right?
They always are.
Because then they've seen you and they met you and they know you. So obviously we know accidents can happen. And sometimes a mailbox may meet a plow truck and it doesn't end well for the mailbox. What do I do if that happens? And I mean, obviously, like if I do it to my mailbox, that's my problem. Right.
Yeah. So,
but if I think you did it to the mailbox, or not you specifically, but the plow truck did it when they came by, what do I do?
We definitely get a fair amount of phone calls about this. So basically the way it works is cities are not required to replace mailboxes, but it's been a long-standing practice in Auburn. You know, we really try to make an effort to work with our residents on every front that we can. And we definitely do damage some. You know, unfortunately it happens. Surprisingly, most of the time it's not from the actual plow hitting it. It's a lot of times it's from snow or slush being thrown off from the wing. So oftentimes the plow operator won't even be aware that they damaged it. So the best thing to do is just to call Public Works and let us know. And what we'll do is a supervisor will come out or our carpenter will go out and we'll check it out and we will replace it. The only time we won't do that is if it's not something that we damaged. Like if a private contractor, for example, were to do it, if you can plainly see that the person driving, it was a pickup plow that pushed in someone's corner of their driveway trying to widen it and went a little too far or something, we're not going to take that on. We do have a mailbox policy at the city, and you can check that out right on our website. We do have to keep things ADA compliant, and we stay with the postal codes as far as like height and what kind of mailbox you have. On top of that, there's a lot of decorative mailboxes out there, like granite posts and stuff. Those are actually classified as DFOs, deadly fixed objects. So mailboxes have to be
serious.
Yeah. It's usually not that serious, but some of these can be installed in a manner where they would not be considered a DFO, but 99% of the time they are. Basically, that means like if you were to be driving your car home and were to slide into the ditch and hit a mailbox, it should cause minimal damage to your vehicle. If you hit
be like permanently
if
implanted.
If you've got one of those people and you've got a 10-foot pole stabbed into the ground,
and a concrete base holding that sucker in.
Exactly. If you hit that, it's going to cause serious damage to vehicles and possibly people. So we definitely will not install those. We just kind of have a standard 4x4 post and mailbox that we do. The other option is, if you prefer to fix it yourself, you can, and we will reimburse you up to a certain amount. I'm not sure off the top of my head what that number is.
Yeah, I don't remember either. I know it's in the policy.
Find on the website.
Yeah, it's in the policy. You'd be able to find it.
A deadly fixed object.
I know. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, DFOs.
It's like a new favorite term. I like that. I know we touched a little bit on the decorating earlier, and it's Noel's favorite thing to do, as Shawn mentioned.
Yes, it is.
How much? So obviously here at City Hall, we're right here in downtown, and I think that's probably where the majority of decorations are concentrated. But what is that city decorating? I don't think we have a policy per se, but I know you said you've been doing it since you've been here, Noel, and I'm sure we have different places that we just always put things up and it's kind of what people expect.
Yeah, so we don't have a policy, so to speak, but we kind of have an SOP. We kind of have like our normal things that we do. It has been evolving a little bit over the years. It used to be a little bit more spread out. So we used to go a little further up like Court Street and stuff like that. But we've really kind of tried to focus it on more of our downtown, especially these days where we tend to have, really great downtown events. Like New Year's event is always a hit. So we try to focus on like Main Street area, New Auburn. As I'm sure a lot of you have noticed, there's been some construction work going on. So we've got some newer poles and sidewalks and all that other stuff going on. So I'm sure we'll be changing things up a little bit again next year. So I would say it takes anywhere between 4 to 6 weeks on average to kind of get most of the decorations up. It can be challenging sometimes because weather can roll in and that can really put a hinder on things. And, we've only have so many crew to do it. And it's usually my guys on the tree crew, they're kind of running that. The other guys will help out when they can, but they're busy stocking sand, salt, prepping trucks, kind of buttoning up like we were talking about earlier, getting those summer construction jobs out of the way and prepping things up for winter.
Well, yeah. So it takes time. I think that's the other thing. We need to have a little grace with our public works crew. And I know I'm sure it feels like you're always kind of up against it. But as you just pointed out, you're kind of doing fall cleanup, doing winter prep, and then, oh yeah, we're going to make you decorate. And then I might call and you get sucked into some other projects too that weren't on your list.
There's always last minute things that come up, different ideas that people have that, they get pulled different directions. And like Noel mentioned, for the most part, the Christmas decorations is usually the tree crew. So now you get a tree that comes down, you kind of, if it's across the road, obviously they're going to get pulled off on that. But there's some residents that are out there waiting for trees to get done or cut down or trimmed up. And unfortunately, they get pulled off to take care of the lights and the decoration. So there's always that kind of pulling, where are we going to go today? They do a great job. It's like a 3-4 man crew that are doing most of the lights, and they do a great job. They really take a lot of pride in what they're doing.
They loved all the decorations I ordered, by the way.
They always love. The more you can get, they're just excited.
They're thrilled. They love it.
Listen, we don't want to spoil them.
Well, and I have to say, Noel, you mentioned with New Year's Auburn, the events that the city does, we could not do without the Public Works crew. You guys are my workhorse event team. I physically could not do events without you, whether it's setting up tents, tables, chairs, trash, checking IDs,
having a plow truck to block off part of the street.
using the trucks for hard barricades, having the guys there so if those trucks need to move for emergency vehicles, filling up water for a portable water station. I mean, you name it. I think I've probably asked you to do it. Yeah. So without you guys, we couldn't do any of these events.
Really, it's true for our department, but also it's true for basically the entire city. I really don't think people understand. I mean, maybe some, but if you know somebody who works in Public Works, you understand. But if you're just a resident of Auburn, Public Works are involved in in everything that the city does. So we should be grateful.
You are literally the jack of all trades and other duties as assigned.
We definitely.
And they both are uncomfortable with compliments.
So transitioning into some more fun questions now. Fun-ish, I guess.
Your idea of fun and mine are totally different things.
Okay, I'll accept that. What's the most interesting part of your job? Noel, you want to go first?
Sure. Definitely going to be adapting to all the challenges and the changes that come up so frequently. We come in and we have a plan of what we're going to try to do today, and if we get it done, what we're going to do right after that. And within the first 15 minutes of the day, that almost is guaranteed to change. So it's constant.
And then I call and plans are out the window.
Yeah. Sometimes you throw a wrench for me. That's okay.
The change is nice. I like the idea that, I'm not a fan of wintertime anyways, by any means, but I like the, once you're just done with winter, you're done with the cold, you're done with the plowing and the overtime. I like, just give it a month or two and we're off to the next season. We're on to sweeping, and then just, okay, I'm done with it, over it. You're moving on to something else. Now you're going to go put in a playground or do some other project out on the road or whatever. It's always changing. It's always evolving. I get bored easily, so the change is nice, except for when you call. You want that last minute change.
Yes.
The seasonality seems nice, though.
Yeah.
That you get to work with the seasons.
To Shawn's point, I think that's kind of the same for everyone in our department. I think a lot of people really appreciate the change,
right,
with the seasons, and oftentimes, many times throughout the season, a lot of people get very bored doing the same thing day after day after day, and we definitely have many different things to do. So a lot of people really like that.
I like to say I thrive in chaos. It needs to be. Things need to be changing,
this is where the last
right?
minute things come from, right?
See?
Here, the chaos.
Yeah, it's all starting to come
You've admitted it.
I thrive in chaos, and give me a good deadline, and I'm gonna push it to the limit. It's just the way that I am. I can't help it.
So we may have a position open for you.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't drive a big truck, though. Trust me. Nobody wants to see that.
We've always got sidewalk tractors.
That might be.
Put Jen in a
but it
sidewalk
doesn't go
3
fast
miles
enough.
an hour.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh my gosh. I'd probably fall asleep. It'd be too slow. No, I need something faster than that, but not big.
There's plenty in those to keep you busy.
Okay. But it's still, I don't know. It's probably too slow. Maybe I'll try it. Maybe I'll run out there and see if someone will let me hop on one at some point.
Yeah, we'll give you a standing invitation.
A ride along.
Yeah. I'm not sure if there's enough room. Yeah, I have to come do a ride along at some point this winter. That would be fun. just to see it from a different perspective, I think would be neat. So, Shawn, I'm going to start with you on this one now. Your favorite thing about Auburn, and it does not have to be work related. What's your favorite thing about Auburn?
I love how you can be downtown on Main Street 1 minute, go into Gritty's, get dinner, and 5 minutes later you can be out off to the countryside. You can go out on Jordan School Road, out that way or whatever, be out on a gravel road. It's just so different. It's such a small city, but yet so big at the same time. The way it's spread out, how different it is. You're in town, you're out of town, all the businesses, the food. I like food. I'm a foodie. But yeah, I just love how quickly you can change from one thing to something completely different.
How about you, Noel?
For me, it's going to be the people I work with, honestly. I think the people really are what kind of makes Auburn. You know, it's unique. To me, this is kind of a big city. I'm from a small town, and I still live in a small town. So my vocations don't involve being here very much. But, you know, as far as a work experience goes, I think it's a great place to be. People make it enjoyable.
It's funny because that's what we hear
Those
from
are the common answers.
Yeah, that's what we hear.
People often appreciate the smallness / bigness of Auburn, which I also feel the same way. And then people often say the people as well, which I love. It makes me happy.
We do have really fun people to work with here.
Yes,
and maybe I'll have to do a ride along with Shawn because it sounds like you know where the food's at. So
absolutely, yeah. I'm always up for lunch.
Nothing wrong with that.
Never a bad time for lunch.
I would agree with that. Well, thank you guys for joining us. I know we pushed you out of your comfort zone. This is not in your normal day-to-day operations.
Yeah. Remember those like last minute things that we were talking about?
Yeah.
Well, this has been on your calendars for last
like 2 weeks.
So I will not say it's last minute,
Right.
but yes, we're throwing you a curveball, but you handled it gracefully and greatly.
How much more notice could I have given you?
2 weeks is the most you'll get from Jen.
That's it. Because then you would have thought about it and probably tried to back out.
I tried.
We've tried.
Yeah. I bet you did.
We've been talking about it for the last 2 weeks. How we're going to get out of this.
Oh,
Well, now it's over.
now you can
did
tell
great.
everyone we're not scary. There's gold-plated microphones, and we don't bite.
And it's not just a little closet.
Right? It's a
Yes,
whole
again,
room.
It's a whole room.
For some reason, I had that in my head. There's going to be some little dark closet. They just kind of stick me in.
Stick you in the hole in the basement. Well, I did tell you it was in the basement, so I guess that's fair.
That's
fair assessment.
probably where I got that.
Well, thank you guys for joining us and giving us a little more insight on public works, winter prep, Christmas decorations, all those fun things. And in our next episode, you are going to hear from our friends at the Auburn Public Library and all the exciting things that are going on there. So don't forget to tune into our next episode. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us on Absolutely Auburn. You can find all things Auburn, Maine at auburnmaine.gov and goauburn.me. You can also listen to us anytime, anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio, just to name a few. The City of Auburn's communications team wants to remind you that Absolutely Auburn is the only official podcast for the City of Auburn, Maine.